So welcome to the first happy hour with Arbitrage. So, Keno, I have questions to ask you if you're willing to talk about it. Do you want to start with your project, or do you want to take the questions first?
Project at the end if you want.
Okay. Keno, how did you find out about Numerai?
How did I find out? So I was working on a book on Ethereum and like solidity and like smart contracts. And so I was doing like part of that research was like I used to hang out a lot on Ethereum's Gitter, which is like Slack, but like, you know, it's exactly like Slack, but it's just like the community that you went to the Ethereum page and they send you there. And so I guess somebody mentioned Numerai, and I can't remember the context, but I can imagine it was like something to do about the staking contract. And so I have a finance background and a forecasting background. So I was like, oh, this is AI, forecasting, smart contracts. So everything just was like, you know, very attractive. So then I got hooked immediately. So that's how I found out through a forum.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that seems like there's quite a bit of us who find out through social media or some derivative of social media, at least. That's neat. And when did you start participating?
So I was checking, and my first account is like the 4th of July of 2017.
Oh, cool.
So I'm coming up on 3 years, I guess.
Nice. 4th of July. That's a
that's a good day.
Yeah, yeah. And if you don't mind telling the folks, where are you located in the world these days?
Right now I'm a bit of a nomad, but like right now I've been here in Mexico City for the last 2.5 years, more or less.
Okay.
And so I know actually more like 3 years, because I started Numerai when I first moved back here. So I'm originally from here, from Mexico, but I used to live in California. I spent like maybe almost 2 decades in between LA, San Francisco, and Santa Barbara.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, I live in between two of the best taquerias in Mexico City, which is like, you know, it's so dangerous. It's like, you know, you're like, what's for dinner? And it's like, oh, these delicious tacos. And it's just like madness.
Tacos. Oh, I talked to my hands. Crap.
Yeah. And they're cheap as well.
Sorry about that.
No.
Yeah, I love tacos. In fact, I'm having taco seasoned beef and rice and cast iron seared peppers and all kinds of deliciousness for dinner after this.
Yeah, but I don't know. You get like the Cuban sort of like Latin food, right? Like
yeah. Oh yeah, man.
That's a whole different like.
Cuban food's the shit.
Yeah.
I love me some Cuban food.
It's greasy and it's good and it's like it's savory.
I love tacos though, man. Like if I had good taco shops around me, I would totally be about it. Alas, I don't have good taco places near me.
Yeah.
But you know, we do what we do. So what do you do for a living? Are you like a contract worker, kind of?
That's a very
taking
complex,
heads when you can.
That's a very complex question, because
yeah.
So basically, I try not to work, and
I like it.
I have so my main so I research consciousness and cognitive systems in the brain, and how to translate them into digital analogs or in. And so right now I'm working on the second part of a book on a thing I call conscious artificial intelligence, which basically, I mean, it is what it sounds. It's artificial intelligence that is like more resembles how we perceive the world. And if consciousness is too much of a sort of like a new agey word for you, or like anybody else, like just substitute it with awareness. So, you know, if you think about the things that are like that an AI is aware, it's very limited. So anyway, so that's my main goal, or my main research. And but the thing is that I'm not part of academia, so I've been researching this for like on and off for the last maybe 10 to 15 years, and so I have to pay the bills somehow. And to do that, I am a software developer, and I have a small studio that I do mostly front-end stuff, and although I'm transitioning to like full stack projects, and I also do design work, industrial design work, UI, UX, that sort of things. And I also started like writing articles about like 2 years ago, and books, and that's surprisingly, that is like giving me enough money almost to like just live of just writing basically. And
nice.
Practice. So yeah, I mean, if you're like in academia, and that usually pays a lot.
Well, it depends on the field. Yeah, I don't think the the fine arts PhDs are doing very well right now. But yeah, finance and accounting, we do very, very well. Average salary for the accounting folks in my cohort that exited have starting salaries in the 160 range. But they're teaching accounting good. Like I'd rather pull my teeth out. Yeah.
So I just want to answer a question from JRV. He's like, what's your preferred definition of consciousness? And so the problem there is that, like, you know, so I mentioned that I'm writing a second part of the book on consciousness and artificial consciousness, basically. And the first book is like 100 pages just exploring that single question of what is the definition of consciousness. Because we have, everybody has a different definition of consciousness. And the thing is that, you know, is like if you sort of like go to the detail, it's not just one definition. Consciousness is like, you know, it's not a unitary concept. It's not like a single thing, you know, many things like go into it. But like, so that's why I mostly, when I'm like, you know, in a casual setting or when people are not into this, I usually just say, well, just replace consciousness with awareness. You know, what are you aware of at any point, and what a system is aware of at any point. And so, but then, like most people, what they think when they think about consciousness, they think about self-consciousness, which is that you know that you are you, and that's a whole different. Okay. So, for instance, like, you know, if you use Siri, like, you know, it's like, and you ask their Siri or you're like or Alexa or any of those like smart assistants, is like, if you ask them, do you have a camera? They can you translate text into another language? They don't know what you're asking them because they are not like aware of who they are or what they are. So they just answer to you like based on a script. And so this goes to the point of like neural networks, that they're like, you know, we use them as sort of like algorithms and functions versus what nature uses them for. And what nature uses them for is like active systems, you know? So they're like always learning and always like adapting to the environment. So again, like it's a loaded conversation about like what.
Wow. Yeah, you're kind of blowing my mind there. I would say also, you said you're not in academia, but if you have an interesting idea, any professor who needs to publish will work with somebody who's passionate and has data. So it sounds like you've done enough of the background research. You should just reach out to some people that do research in the space you like and see if they'll co-author with you.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, so like some of like the things that I wrote in like are taught in MIT, for instance. So I wrote like a bunch of articles on neural networks and a thing called general intelligence or general artificial intelligence. And so apparently they're like being taught at like some MIT AI course, and like they're like the teacher just like reached out and said like, you know, we just wanted to let you know that we're like, you know, giving out like your like text and stuff. I hope that's okay. And I'm like, I really don't care. I just care about the project and maybe like making money out of it, or like not even money for the sake of like, you know, greed. It's just like to have a project that I can do like cooler things, you know, with it. So anyway, so that's so the long and short of it is that I do many things that I don't like, well, that I can do, but basically my main focus is that, and my main focus is going to be that for the next, I think, like I don't know, at least the next decade.
Cool. Well, I'm going to do a quick shout out to Mike P. I'm talking with my hands, by the way, folks, and Richard. I've got them approximately down there in the grid. Keno, what programming language do you use, and why do you use it?
Like for data science and stuff, like I do Python mostly, and like most of us. And but I think I'm gonna like transition at some point to like either Go or Rust, because they are.
Do you just like working hard for no reason or something?
No, I think that's where like, you know, I think that's where like, you know, I mean, I've been a software developer for like more than 20 years. But
well, I mean, you already have a data structure pipeline in place now, and so you want to switch to something else. That's what I mean. You just want to, you just must like to work.
Well, the things that like right now I can't progress because like I don't have any RAM.
That's right. You did say that. Oh,
yeah, Go and Rust are like, you know, are supposed to be faster and like more like gentle and stuff. But again, it's also about how you position yourself for the future.
Yeah. That's
and
true.
Because I think it's like Python is what it is right now because like of all the tooling that it has and all the libraries. But as soon as they get ported to some other language that is faster, like, most people are probably going to fail.
Well, I mean, 99% of a data scientist workload can be solved with scikit-learn and pandas. So
yeah, that's true. And but again,
no attribution, Mike. I'm not going to give any attribution. So Keno, what are your top 3 tips for the tournament? Because you've been crushing it after this COVID thing. You do well in the pandemic time.
Well, yeah, like I like to think of my models as being like stable more than anything. So the thing is that you can like chase anything. You can chase like sharpe, or you can chase like correlation and whatnot. But I think if you do that, like then you end up having good periods followed by bad periods. And like, I don't, excuse me, I don't really like the bad periods at all. So so the tips, like without giving away too much, is that you have to train your models anywhere from like 1 week to a few months. And so I'm not talking about just like tuning your like hyperparameters and doing grid search on them, but it's more like, try many things and then like see, like write down the results and then like later see what works out of it, what you can take out of it, what you can put in. And so again, like I think like forecasting is a dynamic business. So I mean, I have like sort of like stable models, but I don't expect them to be stable for like, I don't know, any more than like a few months. And I
was looking at NJ's thing. I'm sorry.
I'm looking at Richard's thing. Like it has like private something space, which is kind of weird. Private intimate space. It's weird. It's probably related to I don't know, Elon Musk in some way. Or
I like NJ's backdrop. That's from the Erasure Con. That's the. Do you have the whole mural? I tried to photograph the mural. It just does not translate to photography.
Yeah, I might have it somewhere. I'll share the photo sometime.
Which is to
tips.
Adjust slowly. Have a long-term view.
Yeah, and so I think this is like a slow random walk. The way that the tournament is set up is like a very slow thing. So you have to like, make a change. And now it's sort of like easier because we have 10 opportunities to like try new things. And so you can try a number of statistical models and develop an intuition on what works and what doesn't. And so, but that's very general. The second one is that I think you have to like have a lot of scaffolding and like tooling. So, so for instance, I have like, the time that I spend on this project, I think is like 70% setup and like 30% actual like modeling and training.
I agree.
And that's because you are like actually like modeling 2 things. You are like modeling, the data set, and then you're also modeling the changes to the tournament itself. Because it's not only what the model, what you think is a good model, it's what they'll pay you for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, so that's the thing is like, and so the third one is like, you have to trust no one, like including yourself. And also not Numerai, because like, I think we are like this is very new. So like we're kind of like figuring it out as we go. So
well, yeah, Keno, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off. So like this is the 4th year. I mean, in 3 weeks, I hit my 4-year anniversary of my account opening, and that seems like a very long time. This is still a startup. This is so new that people have no idea what we're doing. And every day I get asked, like, John, what do you do? And I'm like, I do financial machine learning. And they're like, what does that mean? And the questions continue. So it's so bleeding edge that it's very hard to kind of boil this down. And so you're right. Startup culture, it's all new, and it's all pretty exciting. And I think that's why we're here, right?
Yeah, and so the other thing is that like one of my favorite like quotes on data is that if you torture numbers long enough, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear, right?
100%.
So assume that you have a bias and that you want like X method or like like neural network. So again, I love neural networks, and but I don't use them here. just because like, the amount of work that it would take for me to like make a specific neural network for this tournament, and then knowing that the rules are going to change in 1 week makes no sense.
It's funny you say that. Oh, I'm talking my hands again. Sorry.
Drink.
It's funny that you say that about the rules change, because I swear it seems like every time I contemplate a change and start to work on it, literally that's what happens. And so then I think, well, if I try to make a change, they're going to change the rules. And then the rules never change. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
But still, the overarching theme, though, is stability. Trying to make as few changes as possible if you have something that you like. And I told my students at the start of their project, I said, look, approach your model not from like trying to find the best settings. Approach your model from the design standpoint, from a big picture view. This is how I want my model to run. The hyperparameter tuning doesn't matter because it's within your model framework that matters, right? So that's kind of how I set it up. And I think that it just remains true. I did it again, sorry. I'm just going to sit on my hands, but if I do that, I can't drink. Oh, by the way, I have for the newcomers.
Don't skip leg day.
Don't be like the flamingo. Do your squats. So yeah, Keno, I appreciate that. I have another question though. This is the most important question of the day. Okay. Who's your favorite team member?
Nobody has picked Richard, right?
I do not believe Richard has a vote.
Well, I'm going to go with Richard.
There it is.
Just because nobody has picked him up. I mean, it's unfair. It's his project, man. Come on.
There it is, Richard.
And like, but followed by whoever pays me the most, So
that would also be Richard.
There you go.
Cheers, Richard. We love you. That's cool. So Richard got a vote. I'm pretty sure that's his first. What's your number one feature request or improvement that you'd like to see for the tournament?
Just one.
Only one. Oh, did it again. Sorry.
Well, I guess it would be like it's everything is related with payouts with me. So it's basically like better insurance or better payouts, and so the thing is that it's like, even though you look at we went from like coffee money to like
houses.
Like no, we're like right now in car money, I guess. Like except Sorios, but Sorios is like an anomaly. He's like he's the biggest stake by like 4 times as much as the next one, something like that.
Yeah, he's the Jeff Bezos of the tournament.
Yeah, he's like the fat cat. And so, but the thing is that it's like it's all paper money and paper profits. You don't, even though you see that big stick, you can't take it off. And if you take it off and then you sell it, you're probably going to crash the price.
Until you withdraw, you have not earned anything.
Until it is
on paper,
on DAI or like some stable coin is not there. So it's. I mean, I fully understand that from the part of like Numerai, they are doing what they think is best. But from my point of view, like my involvement would like change if I knew that I had like guaranteed pay for something, and so that would be my number one feature request.
Do you have 10 models? By the way?
No, I only have 3 models.
Only 3, and they're all in the top 50, right?
They've been in the top 100 for the last, like I guess, like 2 or 3 months, and like.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club. Any other? Where are you at, Rudy? Are you in the top 100 with 3? No. Who else is? Bor? Are you up there? Nope. We're standing on top of giants. I think Michael Oliver might be with us though.
Yeah, but he's leaving soon, right?
That's true. It's time to fire up the GitHub there, Michael Oliver, and hand us your code. Thanks. Cheers, mate. So speaking of Michael Oliver, and Keno, thank you. Oh, crap. I used my hands again. Keno, thank you. I appreciate you answering my questions. And Michael Oliver, I want to bring you in now. So you're exiting... Presumably you're exiting one job and starting another. So have you like started thinking about what your workflow is going to be like day to day?
I've started thinking about it. I've been starting to go to some meetings with the team and see stuff they're working on and getting ideas. And I was just talking with Mike that he's going to get me up to speed on stuff next week.
So you're pretty excited to get to work, huh?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've
Sweet.
already been sending them some ideas of stuff I've been working on.
Hey, Keno, you launched a website today.
Yeah, I did.
That's pretty freaking cool.
It's my weekend last week's project.
So I just have one thing that I would like to see is that anybody that's ranked has the same number of submissions, no gaps.
Wait, what?
Like, so I'm looking at your thing now, right? Numerai.com.
Yeah, let me post it.
Yeah, please promo yourself.
But I mean, it's
right in the chat.
I don't know if I want to promo it because like I do pay for the bandwidth, so I don't know if I want it to be very.
Oh, you pay for the bandwidth? Well, sorry, I've been banging that thing pretty hard.
No, it's fine. You can also download the data. I don't know if you noticed.
I saw the download button. That's very cool. I like that a lot.
So the idea is to have like a site where like there's data that like Numerai probably does not want to show on their website, not because they don't want to, because they're like dodgy or anything. It's just because it doesn't serve their purpose, So, but there's data that we might, as a community, like find useful. And,
yeah, for sure.
And so that's sort of like the idea behind this, like just to have like certain metrics that we don't have. So, but right now it's just like like a proof of concept. And so I just grabbed like from their API some of the leaderboard rankings, and I did some charts on Python. So if anybody has like a chart that can be done with their API data that they want, just let me know.
Cool, man. No, I think this is a great like first release because I already found it very interesting because I ranked on correlation with meta model average, which I presume is a 20-week rolling.
Yep, I think so. It's from the API, and the API is not that well documented. It's not. I mean,
yeah,
it's documented as it is posted on their website. So we have to like sort of like somebody asked me what is reputation, and I'm like I have no idea. I just grabbed the number from their API. Like that's the number that they have in their graph. So it means something to them.
No, I think this is cool. One thing that would be interesting to track is like your daily average volatility.
Oh, the dailies and the weeklies are coming, but they're probably coming like in a couple of weeks. It's just because I need to. So there's things.
You got to gather the data. I
need to gather the data. Also, can hammer their servers. So I get like one request a day maybe, and the data is going to change,
Yep.
So I need to set it up in a way. But my main thing that I wanted to do this for was so you could like pick a few models and just track their performance over whatever metric you want through the last week or something like that. And so that's coming. That's the next thing.
No, it's really cool. Keno, I like this a lot. I think there's a tremendous amount of useful or utility. And we can definitely improve this over time. It's very cool.
Yeah, just for instance, if you just sort by username and your models are sort of like related by their name. So let's say if you have a model that is called like there's people out here like Bohr, for instance. Bohr is like the clearest example because he has Bohr 1, Bohr 2, Bohr 3, Bohr, etc. And so you can see sort of like how they behave like in a small screen. It's like you don't have to like scroll through pages and pages and pages. And if you want to do deeper analysis, then you just download the thing into Excel and then just go crazy there, like do whatever you want.
No, it's really cool. I want to congratulate you on the good work and thank you for doing that. I see somebody in Zoom who I don't think's been on before. Harsh, how are you?
Hey.
Long time no see, my friend.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's almost been a year.
Yeah, yeah. I just rejoined, just graduated. And
oh, you graduated. That's good news.
Thank you.
So I totally was that professor you told me not to be.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, you just have to explain things, and sometimes it takes a lot of words. So I tried. I really did try. But it is what it is.
Well, I did my part.
So for the sake of the audience, because I know what you do, can you tell people what you do?
Yeah, I handle front end and UX work at Numerai.
Front end and UX work. So what he's not telling you is that he's a design genius. This dude right here is legit. So I think we're all very, very lucky to have Harsh helping design stuff for us. So I'm glad that you stuck around for a while, and I hope you'll hang out in office hours in the future.
For sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you have any models in the tournament, Harsh?
No, I just submitted the example files so that I have something in there so I can design based off that. But
Okay, makes sense.
I really don't know Python or any of the data science stuff yet.
So thanks for joining. I appreciate you coming in today. I have like 17 minutes left, so I want to make sure I hit some questions here. Let me just refresh this page. What data are we predicting exactly? Can I align the round resolution to an index like the Dow Jones Industrial Average post-fact to see how correlated to the market my models are? Well, Richard has said many times that we are neutral to everything, and anything that we did identify might be spurious. So, Keno, I'm going to ask you to clarify your question. In light of the fact that we've repeated this many, many, many times, and I know you've been here. Oops, talking my hand, sorry.
Yeah.
I know you've been in these office hours when I talk about.
So, okay, so I guess like the core question is, what is neutral?
Richard?
Well, there are, many ways that you can be neutral. You could be dollar neutral. So as many dollars you have in longs, you have in stocks, in shorts as well. And then you could be beta neutral, where your beta is 0. So you have some high beta stocks, but you also short similarly lots of very low beta stocks, or sorry, very high beta stocks as well. And so you're neutral on that from that perspective too. And then you can be neutral on volatility itself. And we're neutral to all of those things.
Okay. So
right, like within like measuring, like, I mean, we're predicting, in the end, we're predicting the market, right? So we're predicting.
Well, you're predicting stocks in the
Right.
inside of the market. So you're predicting their kind of relative return versus other stocks.
Richard,
So
are we submitting a portfolio, kind of?
You're submitting a signal that's supposed to be easy for us to turn into a portfolio.
There it is. Oh, man,
That
Richard, every
signal
time I
itself.
ask you a question, man, it's like, God bless
Dodgeball.
America. Cheers to that. That was a good one. That was good.
But I mean, like in the end, like if we're predicting stocks, wouldn't it make sense that, like, you know, they are correlated, like no matter how like far away from, like, you know, the thing is, I mean, is the market, that like the index itself is like giving you sort of like the sum of the behavior of stocks. And so no matter how neutral you are, like in the end, that would probably like be related in some way, sort of like the derivative, if you want, of like the prediction or like the signal.
Well, I mean, for sure, you know, we're related to the features, right? Like there are times where you can tell it's a feature that's causing things to go wrong, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you should think about it as, I mean, if you took 5,000 global stocks and at random you bought 1,000 of them, and at random you shorted 1,000 of them, that's going to be a very neutral thing. That's not going to follow the market. It'll be very neutral to most things.
Okay, cool. John, do you have anything to say about the date?
So, yeah, I should reread the question. Thank you, the artist formerly known as Van Tritrone, for pointing me in the right direction. The date that we're predicting, the date. So, the date. I asked about a year ago, I said, you know, if you're going to change the tournament, my number one request would be that we resolve in the middle of the week. Because it's what we do in academic research, right? Because you have a weekend effect. There's a Friday risk off, and it's statistically significant by itself. There's also, you know, the January effect is another thing. And so my suggestion was, instead of resolving on Friday when we have a risk off event, let's resolve in the middle of the week so we can ignore all of those kind of crazy shenanigans that go on at the start and the end of the week. So I believe that we've now aligned ourselves with a midweek resolution. But I don't know that to be true. I suspect that to be true.
So we get results on Thursday. Well, actually, we get final results on Wednesday, right?
Thursday's results are for the previous day.
Wednesday. So I'm
Right?
predicting.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So I'm predicting like 5 weeks from now, like if you take out, like, you know, all all the overlapping weeks. So the date would be Wednesday then.
I believe so.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, because I identified some volatility that goes on. Yeah, again, it's risk off into the weekend. You don't want to have risk leading through a weekend when we have all bad news coming in the weekend, right? And so I noticed some volatility in earnings related to that. So like when I was in town in June last year, I said, my number one request would be that we resolve in the middle of the week.
Cool. And just like to be clear, like I asked this because of the Numerai dash, like the dashboard, because like I don't know, I was thinking that maybe it would be cool to have like some market data in there and see how that market data correlates to your model.
I would just say that we can try and see if there's any correlations. It might just be spurious based on what Richard said.
Well, we don't know.
We'll find out over time, right? They said look at Sharpe rather than the mean of your Spearman. They said low feature standard deviation is good. Tried, but don't see that back in my own models. Do others?
I was actually thinking about this today. I was like, the Sharpe we do is like correlation divided by standard deviation of correlation, which is a very like non-standard, metric. No one's really using that. Whereas like correlation with returns or targets is a very standard thing, like called information coefficient or whatever it's called. So I was thinking like, what is the best ratio that you guys think? So for example, is it better is something like to maximize 2 times your correlation returns divided by your correlation standard deviations? Is that somehow better? Does that more like maximizing the Sharpe of your payout in some way? So I was kind of just like thinking about that today, because I do think you can go too far with the feature neutralization stuff, and you can start to really cripple your model. And even with Sharpe, you can start to cripple it if you go,
Correct.
You care too much about that. But it's definitely the kind of thing that you might not think about at all. And another data science problem, you wouldn't think about your Sharpe because there's no time maybe. But here it's at least worth thinking about. But yeah, it's possible that maximizing something like 2 times your returns divided by your standard deviation, so basically down weighting the volatility part of it, is worthwhile.
So what is the bad part about volatility? It's not just sort of absolute returns in a long time that we're interested in.
Volatility in finance is risk.
Yeah, but this is for us.
If you have high volatility, you have high risk. So you want to squash the volatility as much as you can.
Is volatility bad for us? I mean, you can just sort of make a model of the cumulative amount of money you make, and that's what you want to maximize. And it doesn't really matter if that's highly volatile or not.
Exactly. In fact, yeah, you might want to have a model that has very high expected correlation. And if you then you cared about that's too risky, I've got too much money on that, make another model that's uncorrelated to that model, that also maximizes correlation. So in neither case did you maximize Sharpe, but together they would give you a good personal Sharpe.
Now that we have MMC2, could we have a chart for historic MMC rank on the user profile screen?
It's more of a feature request than a question.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, that's still a valid question, I think. So I don't know. I guess I'll just pass that to the team and say that's been requested. How about that? How is it possible that ranking can work on Numerai? So, Richard, you have largely been absent from these discussions on ranking. I'm very curious to see what you have to say about this. JRB suggested when I interviewed him that we should look at this as a ranking task, since we use Spearman instead of, am I getting that right? Now the beers are kicking in, so I forget. But anyway, the rank matters. And so why don't we make this a ranking task? What do you think?
I mean, how is it not a ranking task already?
Yeah. So okay,
yeah,
that's a valid comment. Absolutely. But to optimize specifically ranking instead of correlation.
Yeah, well, there are a few other ways of measuring ranks. There's some nice metrics that search engines use on ranks, actually.
Right.
I can't recall them.
Discounted cumulative gains and normalized discounted cumulative gains.
Exactly, yeah.
ND.
Those are the ones, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what when we did, because we actually were thinking about that at one point. Should we just score based on those? But yeah, correlation is simple and gets a lot of what we want. Yeah, is there a indication that it might not be getting us what we want? Does anyone think?
No, I mean, it should work exactly because you're ranking us prior to scoring us, because that's what it's based on. So it shouldn't matter at all. In each era, you could look at as a portfolio, which itself is a rank, right? You have the highest return and the lowest return. So if you long the highest and short the lowest, that's a portfolio in any other sense.
One thing is maybe the weights. So you might not be upweighting your top 50 stocks or something as much as we really care about those ones. And we've looked at in the past another metric which we made ourselves, which was kind of like an exponential weighted average function that really almost put a lot more focus on your top stocks and made you care more about getting those right than getting a really nice balanced correlation. But then again, didn't find too much benefit from using that over correlation.
Well, if I might add, my original suggestion was that it is a ranking problem, and by optimizing it as a regression problem, we are optimizing the models to memorize the data. And I'd love to have Richard's opinion on this.
Well, maybe you can say more. I mean, that's, yeah. You mean if you choose to model it and the way you model it is you just run a regression on.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we are, effectively, we care about your sort of, when you're training a model, your model might care about your distance from the real target a lot instead of the rank.
Right.
Yeah, and I tend to, I wonder if you've trained a model that optimizes just really directly on rank. And I think you posted a great
I did.
link. Oh, really?
And I submitted it. Oh, I got a drink. Sorry.
But yeah,
I'm willing to even disclose what I've done.
Models on just plain ranks and also with regression, but I've had best results with a weighted average of both. So yeah.
So I submitted an era boosted rank model, and that's all I'm willing to say. Okay. But I did submit it because there's more to it than just that. But it is an era boosted ranking XGBoost regressor thing, ranking, not regressor. Anyway, that's on Arbitrage 4 as of the most current round, and today it had a 6.06 correlation. So and a MMC of 0.05. Like that's the highest I've ever had. It was crazy. Oh, somebody has to go. Bye, NJ. So the preliminary results, one day is not a story, but I'm very interested to see how it does because it's not correlated with what I have now.
I'm sorry, go on.
Well,
okay, yeah. So this whole approach of trying to minimize correlation with example predictions, that seems to be a bit of a dead end.
If it's good, it's good. That.
Why?
Just to see if you get MMC.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things you guys suggest, that you try to minimize your correlation with example predictions. And I did implement this idea that you posted about trying to directly minimize correlation between two models. But it does essentially devolve into a situation where one model keeps getting better and the other one keeps getting worse, which is a bit like mode collapse in GANs. So I think there are a couple of ideas around trying to alleviate this sort of a degeneration, but I haven't really had time to experiment with any of these things.
I think it's worth digging there. You could just figure out how to make them be equally good.
Yeah, because eventually it gets to a point where one model gets increasingly good and the other one suffers sort of a catastrophic collapse. But the increasingly good model is actually much better than a model which is trained directly on just the trained data. So there is something there.
Whoa.
The two models are trying to be different from each other?
Yeah.
So have you thought about trying 3 models or something? Just like
I haven't tried 3 models. I've only tried two models. Yeah. But I think as they diverge, the distance from them and example predictions remains the same. So it's almost like example predictions is on a separate part of this plane, which is really good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was the whole thing with that conversation with lack of intelligence today was like, they're good. What are you talking about? Like, what's all this doubt? It's all this doubt. Because if they're good, and you think you can beat it, go ahead and join the herd and beat it. The XGBoost models are very good. I've been using XGBoost since 2016. I literally started out, and I think I got most of my initial distribution from an XGBoost model. If it's good, then it's good. So what? Who cares? Find something else that's good and make it better. Or join the fray and be the top of the pile. And this ranking task, I think, is quite the new path of discovery. But Richard, I wonder, this came up in chat. Honestly, I don't think we settled it. We only have 5 target values. So if it's a ranking task, wouldn't we need 1 through n, where n is the size of the era in terms of rank, if we were to use a ranking task?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that would be us asking you to perfectly rank, everything. And there is, the history is also that we used to have a binary target here.
Yes.
You remember?
I do very well.
It was like 1s and 0s, and then we've made it 5. So it's 1s and 0.75s and 0.5s, and that actually isn't the resolution of reality. It is a kind of rounding into quintiles.
Right.
And but that rounding can actually be quite helpful to models, because it stops them from maybe remembering the past.
Interesting.
So there was a bit of discussion on that, where it's like, it looks like quintiles is better than terciles, but then deciles is too much, or something like that. So the choice was made for the quintiles. But then, with the fact that if we had made it, if we had the 1s be 2s and the 0.75s be 1.3, or it would have changed this kind of thing you learn. So the distance matters, unlike, say, a binary classification. So having the distance matter, and then because the scoring metric is correlation, that matters. So we're just kind of saying put these things into five buckets. But then this, I don't know. It's
this is the hardest data science project in the world. So everything that we bring up is like a huge paradigm change potentially. It all needs to be thought about.
How do you guys feel about it?
That's a great insight, by the way.
Sorry?
That's a great insight.
It is.
It changes everything.
Well, we need a new forum post if it changes everything, Jeremy.
What I just said.
Well, I need to run some experiments first. Yeah.
What part of it?
Well, I mean, I would love it if you could have deciles instead of quintiles, but yeah, I think that sheds a lot of light on the way.
I don't know if you. Well, yeah, this is very interesting discussion. I mean, I don't know if you remember there's a part of the analysis and tips document talks about how the things that are classified as a 1 are more likely to be 0s than they are to be 0.5s. So if you go to the analysis tips,
what?
I will read it right after
Yeah, there's like it's a grid that we plotted, which has these green squares. And yeah, there's sort of like the reason for that, if you think about it, is sort of to do with volatility. So if a stock is low vol, it has no chance of being a 2.
That's true.
Because it'll never be really good.
It barely moves.
And
Right.
so it's actually more, the vol part plays quite a big role in which bucket you're in. And so you start saying, well, this is a 10, or this is a 20, or this is a really, then it's like, well, that's all about the vol, isn't it? It's really just, this stock had perfect earnings, and, you know, they have some major deal, or this, it's like some biotech bullshit. And it's like,
yeah.
No, I don't really want you to be modeling that. It's kind of,
that's a really good point, Richard.
So I think there's enough information in what Richard just mentioned to actually improve your pairwise ranking models if anybody's doing it.
We'll see. I don't know that I'm going to change anything. So far, I
want
like
to
what I see.
keep my 2 uncorrelated models post. I want to keep adding to that thread. If you have anything that you want to add there. Did you make the were you the one who made the PCA of the features? No,
that wasn't me.
No,
Okay.
he did the
Yeah,
ranking task, learning to rank.
Okay.
And that's what the
Oh no, that was a different
occupied our
post. So
discussion for
I was the guy
several
who posted a little snippet for I think Pearson's correlation coefficient in JAX.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
All right. Hey, have a good week. I'll see you next week. See you in RocketChat.